In this video, we'll discuss the concept of group editors. So you can see we have a simple UX component here. We have a list on the left which represents the data source of our FormView control, and then on the right we have the editor set being shown. So right now the editor for the first name field is being shown, and you can see that when I tap on, say, last name, the editor for last name is shown. So in this case here, there's a one-to-one correspondence between the field that I clicked on and the field that's being edited in the editor set. But we've taken address, city, state, and country and said that they all represent a group. And so when I tap on address, you can see that we can edit all of the fields in the address section of the form, because this is now a group editor. So if I now go and tap, say, for example, on city, basically there's no difference over here. The group editor shows all of the fields. The only difference is that when I tap on city, the city field got focus because of code that we wrote in the editor show event. So if I tap on state, you can see that the editor group is shown and the state field has focus. Then if I tap on country, then the country field has focus, but it's the same editor set that has the group editor that is being shown. So I go back to first name and you can see the editor there is just showing the first name field, but click on any of the fields in this group and then you can see that the group editor is shown. So let's go back now and take a look how this was set up. So if we go back to our controls, we can see that this UX component has two editors in the editor set. The first editor is a single field editor, so there's just a single edit control. But the second editor, which is the group editor, has edit controls for address, city, state, and country. So now let's go back to the form and see how the form was configured. So if we go now to our form, and we look at the Fields tab, we see that the first name is set to use editor set 1 and then editor number 1, and the last name is also set to use editor number 1. But address, city, state, and country are all part of a group called group name. So basically, when any one of these fields is clicked, the editor for the group called country is going to be shown. So in order to define these so-called editor groups, you can see at the bottom of the screen here, there's a hyperlink that says create or manage edit groups. So if we click this, you can see that here's our definition of the group called country. So there's country. So just like a field has an editor, and a group also has an editor and an editor set. So for the country group, we've specified that the editor set is editor number 1 and that the editor is editor underbar 2. So basically this is how we associate a particular editor with a particular group, and then the fields that are in the group can be managed both over here. You can see where we specified city is being part of the country group and that state was part of the country group, or we can just go here and open up this dialog over here where we manage the fields that are in this group called country. So right now the fields that are in the country group are address, city, state, and country, and the order in which they appear in this list is relevant, and so therefore there's an up and down button. And the reason that it's relevant, you'll see, will be revealed when we look at the JavaScript that populates the editors once the editor set is opened. But this is how we set up the fact that address, city, state, and country are all part of a group called country, with a single editor set being displayed to edit the values. So let's pause now and take a look at how the editor set was configured. So we're continuing now to investigate how editor groups work, and now let's go back to run the form. And you can see now when I tap on a field here, basically the editor is open. So let's go first take a look at what happens with editor number 1, which is a single field editor. So you can see that basically in the set value over here, we're just simply using the variable value, which is basically populated when I tap on the first name field in the form. This variable is set, and then I'm just basically setting the value of this editor here, editor1 text box, to that value using the standard set value method. So that's how it works for a single field. Now let's go take a look at editor number 2. So when I go look at editor number 2, I can see that the code is more complex because I have to populate address, city, state, and country. So we've got 4 edit fields in this editor. And so instead of value being a single value, value is now an array. And we can read the values out of the array to populate the individual controls. So here's address, city, state, and zip. So address is populated with the first entry in the array, and then city is populated with the second entry in the array, etc. So that's why it's important that the fields in the group have a particular predictable order, because you're going to be reading the values out of the value array based on that order. So because address was the first field in the editor group, its value is going to be value 0, and because city was the second field, its value is going to be value 1, etc. So this is how we populate the editor when any field in the group is clicked on. And now the reverse is, how do we basically read the value from these controls and put them back into the form view. So let's go first take a look at the single field editor, editor1, and we can see that the get value is simply basically returning a single value where we've read the value out of editor1. So we just read the value out of editor1 and we return that value. But in the case of an editor group, instead of returning a single value, we need to return an array. So let's go back and look at this code here. So you can see that what we've got over here is we initialize an empty array, and then we read the values from these individual edit controls, address, city, state, and country, in the defined order. So we need to read address first, then city, then state, then country, and we push those values into this array, and then we return the array. So the difference between a single field editor is that the return, the get event needs to return a single value, whereas in the case of a group editor, you need to return an array. So basically what we've shown now is how you get the value out of the editor and put it back into the form. And now the last thing that we need to show is how we set focus automatically to the particular field that was clicked on. So you can see now if I go there and I click over there and I change that to say 2 Main Street, and then I change that to say Cambridge, and then hit the save button, both of those fields got updated. And then now when I click the save button here, the list, which is the data source, gets updated. So now let's explain how we set focus to the particular field in the editor group. So let's go back now and take a look at the editor, and now let's look at the show command over here. So basically when the show command executes, we can use a built-in property of the settings object called star column to give us the name of the field that the user clicked on. And then we basically by convention have named the editor editor_2 followed by the control name. So you can see the first control is editor_2 address, and then editor_2 city, etc. So let's pause now and then continue this in the next video. So we're continuing now and we're talking about how we cause the control, that the field that was clicked on, to have focus when the editor is opened. So by convention you can see that the fields, that the actual input controls in this editor are named editor_2 and then followed by the particular field in the form that you clicked on. So basically once we know the name of the field we clicked on, so this is going to be equal to here either address or city or state, etc., we construct the name of the control by saying editor_2 and then the address or city or state, then we get a pointer to that control by using the getPointer method, and then we call the JavaScript select method on an input control to select the contents of the control. So this is the code here that caused the field to be highlighted when we clicked on the corresponding field in the form. So what we've shown over here in this video is how you can basically edit a single field at a time in an editor, or you can edit groups of fields at a time by creating a so-called group editor. Thanks very much for watching.